You're listening to the MoneyWeb SAFM Market Update podcast with host Fifi Peters.
As I said, the JSE didn't drag itself out of bed today after a long weekend of rest, I hope. In fact, it came back guns blazing, if I can put it frankly. But Nesson Nair, the portfolio manager at Sasfin Securities, joins us for more. Nesson, thanks so much for your time. I hope you had a great weekend, my friend. But yeah, so this JSE, up and away, it would seem.
Yeah, good evening, Fifi. A great weekend. I took the long weekend, actually, also on Friday. So for me, it was quite an eye-opener. You know, the Tencent Naspers process trio has been keeping us entertained, I think, for the last 3 or 4 weeks now. And, of course, news that Chinese authorities may actually be winding up their antitrust investigation into one of the big Chinese internet companies on that side, Net1. Provided a positive read-through for Tencent. That was up about 5 and a bit percent. And, of course, Naspers and Process, which coincides with the corporate action ending, actually, today. Both those shares are up well over 10%. And I think on a day like that, the market's going to be in the green.
What was the corporate action ending?
So there's a corporate action at the moment where Process is offering to buy some of Naspers shares, up to 100% of Naspers shares, actually, in exchange for Process shares. And the positive spin from that is that both Naspers and Process shareholders should enjoy some of a value uplift, if I can call it that. Both those shares traded at discount to the underlying holding in Tencent. And the idea is through this joint or cross-holding and the consolidation in the amount of Naspers shares out there, it should benefit both shareholders. But we'll have to wait and see whether that takes place.
So that's a done deal now, Nesson?
Yeah, so it's, of course, Process has to announce how many Naspers, how much of the Naspers shareholding has been tendered in its favor. But shareholders did approve it some time ago, and the last day to trade in those shares, to participate in this corporate action is today.
I think the Naspers process and whole Tencent jive or dance, I don't know what it is that you called it, just show exactly what you guys mean all the time when you say that, sometimes it's just best to look at this market in the long term, because if you had sold down your Naspers on process over fears of what was going on in China, you would have lost out given the big bounce back that we've seen in the recent while.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's going to be stories of people that, took leverage bets one way or the other. Because there was a lot of news flow I saw, certainly amongst the analysts out there, a lot of discussions around whether or not, these things should be held. And it's very difficult, I think. I've always found it's difficult to make a decision, in times of extreme uncertainty and to react, to a share price movement on a particular day or during a particular week. I don't think we're completely out of the woods yet with Naspers and Process, but I also don't think it's time to make rash decisions for the long term.
And then what was the news flow around MTN? At one stage earlier today, it was actually the biggest gainer on the leaders board, jumping up 10%. It's now come in at number 3 at just over 7%. Why?
Yeah, I didn't see anything strange. It was a strange move on that. I know there's talk about some sort of legal action with MTN. But it's always the case with MTN. There's always that sort of rumors. I don't really want to speculate about that, but I found some of the stock price movements today, very strange. The gold shares were down, for example. Yet the rand is at 14.83 and the gold price was slightly up. So it's been very difficult to actually reconcile really what's been going on. The oil price was up. I suppose that could have had a positive impact on MTN. But there wasn't anything specific that I picked up, that I could say, listen, this explains the move in the share price.
But just talking about the rand, it's a lot weaker than when we left it before we went away for the long weekend. What's happening there? What have we done wrong now?
I don't know. The only thing I could attribute it to was the change in the finance minister. But let's face it, the rand has had much worse experiences in the past when finance ministers were changed. So I'm not really sure it's entirely the case there. But I don't think I don't think there's anything specific in the South African context. We did only have, politically, we only had the cabinet reshuffle, which, I don't think investors had anything really to complain about. Godongwana, is a guy that's known in the in the circles, and we'll have to see, just how good a finance minister he makes in time will tell. But I don't think there was anything specific that I could put my finger on, apart from that cabinet shuffle.
Yeah. So just if you give us the broader picture of what did happen with other currencies who are classified as emerging market currencies like the rand. Is the weakness that we are seeing, was it in isolation, or did we move along with our peers?
No, I think the movement we're seeing is obviously specific, news specific in the South African context. There wasn't anything drastic that had taken place among emerging market currencies today. Of course, with that U.S. jobs number that we saw on Friday, and we couldn't talk about it yesterday because it was a holiday, but the U.S. jobs number seemed to be supportive of a very strong U.S. economy, which means that we're probably going to see some tapering and maybe some capital moving back into the U.S. Potentially. That could have also had an impact on the currency, but I think it's too early. Those jobs numbers are highly, highly volatile. They come out once a month, the first week in the month, and from one month to the next. Remember, last month was a complete disappointment. So, I don't think investors are putting too much of money, one way or the other, into what's going on there. But certainly, on the U.S. front, it seems like the economy is still poised to rebound quite strongly this year.
Yeah, disappointment, but the figures were also revised higher, and it seems as though basically in the past 2 months, America has created almost 2 million jobs. Wouldn't that be nice? But also at the back of that, they've got 10 million vacancies. 10 million.
10 million vacancies and 8.5 million or so people to fill those vacancies. So they've got a jobs deficit there in the U.S. And I think it's a good place to be in if you...
I'm packing my bags. I'm out.
Listen, I think a lot of people are going to maybe look at that option, not just here, but throughout the world, because there is nothing to suggest a slowdown in the U.S. economy. Even unless there's a rapid increase in interest rates. But let's face it, Fed has always been very cautious when it came to interest rates. And the fact of the matter is, if it has any negative impact on the economy, we know the Fed from 2008 will slash interest rates to whatever they need to ensure that the economy survives. So, I actually think that perhaps the rally that we've seen in U.S. markets might likely continue.
Yeah, I tell you, if getting a green card wasn't so difficult, Nesson, I'd be out of here. But Nesson, will leave it there. That was Nesson Nair, Portfolio Manager at Sasfin Securities.
You've been listening to another MoneyWeb SAFM Market Update podcast, uploaded weekdays at 7 p.m. For more MoneyWeb podcasts, go to moneyweb.co.za or the app and follow MoneyWeb News for daily updates.